On this episode of the Bryant Buzz, Arielle Kirkley details the rigorous inspection of the Junior Air Force ROTC program.
This inspection is a big deal. I would say, in a nutshell, it shows a camaraderie.
Plus, Portugal Diaz reports on the increasing popularity of esports right here on the Bryant High School campus.
The reason I got into esports was so that I could help those students and be able to, really connect them to the school.
Babbitt catches up with vintage clothing shop entrepreneurs to see what styles of clothing are making a comeback.
I noticed a lot of kids making a concerted effort to look nice every day, and a lot of kids are getting and diving into the vintage side of things.
And of course, Nick Scavio provides our monthly 212 spotlight.
That you work harder than everyone else to move everybody forward.
All of that on this episode of the Bryant Buzz. Welcome to the Bryant Buzz. I'm Kylie Evans.
And I'm Carsyn Hobson. Thanks for being with us.
Each month on the Bryant Buzz, we showcase the people and programs that make up the Bryant community.
Our first story features the Bryant High School Junior Air Force ROTC program.
You can find the cadets at plenty of community events throughout the year. However, they have been busy preparing for their big day.
Last week, members of the program underwent a unit evaluation, sometimes called a mass inspection.
With a story on an event that happens once every 3 years, here's Hornet Media reporter Arielle Kirkley.
On January 18th, the day the Bryant ROTC program had been preparing for all year long finally arrived.
Chief Barron is coming in and inspecting our unit to make sure that we're functioning efficiently.
The inspection happens once every 3 years. The cadets have to pass in order to keep the program running. Regional Director Chief Master Sergeant Wayne Barron of Maxwell Air Force Base in Montgomery, Alabama, was there to check on many different aspects.
To make sure that we aren't lacking whenever it comes to attending practices, attending competitions, our logistics has everything in order whenever it comes to inventory.
The ROTC cadets take this very seriously due to the pride they have in what their program stands for.
So ROTC as a whole stands for making better citizens. We do a lot of community service where it goes into cleaning the stadium, cleaning the school, keeping students out of trouble as much as possible by keeping them focused on their academics or teams and practices and stuff like that.
The cadets have been preparing for Chief Barron with practices before, during, and after school. However, these students are learning much more than simply just doing their drills.
We practice drill throughout the school year. That's the foundation of our program. Not to say that's the only thing we do, but that kind of builds character, self-discipline, self-control, leadership, and they find their weaknesses and shortcomings on where they need to be at in that formation, if possible.
Though Chief Barron was there to inspect their formation, he was also there to check up on their equipment and supplies.
Say a size 14 shirt, we're supposed to have 3 on the shelf. They want to make sure that we have accountability, and also from the fact that it makes it from our building into the hands of a cadet, and they maintain it and bring it right back.
The inspection helps determine if the program will keep its funding, which is important because expenses can add up.
So for the equipment of clothing itself, $300,000. Our marksmanship room, which we have 13 rifles, that program to get off the ground was $10,000. And all this is free. Not to the public, but basically to that cadet.
Due to COVID-19, the last inspection Bryant had was virtual. The in-person inspection this year was meant to make up for last year's.
This is a way bigger deal. The virtual one was strictly a presentation and a briefing. This is, we get information, we do the speeches, and he inspects rooms as well.
There's a high standard set throughout the Bryant campus, and that is no different for ROTC.
He's a chief, this is our chance to show off and show people who we are and stand out.
After the inspection, Hornet Media learned that the ROTC program passed inspection by meeting the standards. For the Bryant Buzz, I'm Arielle Kirkley.
Thanks, Arielle, for that story. Carsyn, did you ever think that playing Mario Kart on the Wii would turn into people meeting and competing with each other all over the world?
Actually, no, but that is the case as video games are a significant part of life for many, including high school students.
As the popularity increases, many schools across the nation are pressing start on the idea of video games.
This story takes us to Building 22, where Hornet Media reporter Portugal Diaz checks in with our very own esports team.
Get them, get the minions, I don't care.
Boom. With the constant rise in video games, it's only natural that it would soon become a mainstream competitive sport that many around the world would participate in. Bryant High School jumped aboard a few years ago with our very own esports team. David Moore is one of the coaches.
I play games every day. That's just something that I've always enjoyed doing, and so literally almost every day I'm playing something.
But this isn't your regular Mario Brothers adventure. Mr. Moore coaches the League of Legends team.
A lot of it is mental. It's not necessarily physical, and so if we get down early in the game, it's about how do we recover from that. And so that's really the hardest part, I feel like, is the mentality of going in there, because you know 9 times out of 10 you might lose this matchup, and trying to overcome that so that way you can win and that you can do well.
Since he already played video games for about 3 hours a day, a simple sign on the wall was enough to get 10th grade Tyler Strada Atkinson to get up esports 2 years ago.
So I thought about it since I heard that it existed, but then when I saw a flyer in the hallway that said they were looking for 8th graders, that's when I was like, might as well try it.
The training that it takes to be competitive can be intense, though. Mondays and Tuesdays are reserved for the League of Legends team, while Wednesdays and Thursdays are for the Rocket League team. Cameron Hastings says it's all about the preparation.
Just mainly a lot of practice, a lot of playing the game and getting used to each character that you play and each lane and role.
Mr. Moore teaches science during the day, but he knew being an esports coach was another way he could help create a fun space for students at Bryant.
At my first school that I was an esports coach at, they came to me and told me about a need that that this is coming up, and that there are some students out there that don't get necessarily represented. They're not athletes. That there's a lot of stuff that they don't do, but they really enjoy these games and being able to play them. And so the reason I got into esports was so that I could help those students and be able to really connect them to the school.
Mr. Moore said the possibilities for the future are endless, but he does hope to see sports like Madden added into the coming years. The team has about 3 weeks worth of scrimmages before the season officially starts in mid-February and runs to the end of the school year. For the Bryant Buzz, I'm Portugal Diaz.
Thanks, Portugal. Esports might be something new, but this next story is old.
From the retro V-neck dresses of the 70s to the trucker hats of the 2000s, old is back in style.
Even the mom jeans in the 90s have returned, and it's not just the styles.
In some cases, the actual clothes that have defined past generations are making a resurgence.
Online apps have made the buying and selling of old clothes a new trend.
We found one teacher on campus who has his own vintage clothing online shop.
With the story, here's Hornet Media reporter Liam Babbitt.
Stonewashed jeans, work jackets, full print tees, the clothes that have defined past generations are making a resurgence in schools nationwide. Whether scrolling through clothing apps or digging through distribution bins, students and teachers alike are searching for vintage attire. For English teacher Mr. Buchanan, the vintage trend began years ago.
So I started thrifting for myself in 2014 when I was in college. Goodwill was just 2 blocks down the street, so I just walked down there, and anytime I was bored, I'd just go look for myself.
Mr. Buchanan started his online shop in 2017, selling on 6 different platforms with dreams of one day opening a storefront location. While profitable, it's not just about the money, but instead the passion he has for the clothes themselves, some of which date back to the 1930s.
I feel like there's such a better story with vintage. I have a special passion for it just because that's a time period that people want to know more about, and it's not really one that's taught that much in U.S. history.
With vintage and resale growing more mainstream, Bryant follows suit, with students such as myself dressing themselves in decade-old clothing.
I've worked places where people didn't care that much about what they looked like, and coming here to Bryant, it's a big change. I noticed a lot of kids making a concerted effort to look nice every day, and a lot of kids are getting and diving into the vintage side of things and reused clothing and stuff from Goodwill.
Junior Destiny Boothia uses the medium of vintage clothing to display the different ages of the past.
I like the variety of how old the clothes are, and you kind of can dress up as the 90s, 60s, and you don't really get that from modern stores. I want to expand where I go to. I know there's a lot of good ones in Florida. My friend actually lives there, and she goes to these boutiques and stuff and finds fur coats that are much more cheaper than it would be like in a high fashion place, so that's my go-to.
With 85% of modern clothing ending up in landfills, used clothing offers a cheaper and cleaner alternative to styling clothing with clothes that have stayed in style for decades. For the Bryant Buzz, I'm Liam Babbitt.
Kylie, we're back. What are you doing?
Oh, sorry, I was doing some vintage clothing shopping.
Well, we have to finish the show first.
Let's do that then. As always, the final segment of the show is our 212 Spotlight. Here's Hornet Media reporter Nick Scavio.
This month's 212 Spotlight is student-athlete Brooks Edmondson. Brooks Edmondson is a first-string football player with 3 state champs under his belt, but he was never given the position because of his size. He had to earn it.
It started out pretty difficult, working out all the kinks in my gameplay, and then as a young man, and then growing over time through the years, and pursuing a goal that Coach James set for us all, and achieving that goal over all 3 years that I played here.
Football was not the only thing Brooks had to work for. Brooks got an offer from Ivy League school Princeton this year that he has chosen to commit to, and this is where he will pursue his football and academic career.
I'm going to go to Princeton University. It required a lot of hard work academically and athletically to prove to myself that I could do it, and to prove to everybody else that I could do it. And it was hard to prove to myself that I could, and I'm just blessed to have that opportunity.
Brooks shows us that actions speak louder than words on and off the field. Brooks demonstrates that 212 roots from the ability of doing something and not just saying something.
Literally 212 is the boiling point of water. Power makes steam, powers the train. And what it means to me is that you go that extra degree and that you work harder than everyone else to move everybody forward.
With the Bryant Buzz, I'm Nick Scavio.
That's our show for this month. You can keep up to date with the Hornet Media program by following us online.
On our YouTube channel at Bryant High School Hornet Media and on Instagram at Hornet News Now.
Plus, check out the What's Happening Hornets podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts. Thanks for watching. I'm Carsyn Hobson.
And I'm Kylie Evans. Have a great day, everybody.